Aloha and welcome to Kenpo Conversations with Scott Higgins here by the Campfire. And we are at Lee Whining Campground here just down from the Tioga Pass entry to Yosemite National Park. And we are in 7,400 feet and we have a beautiful fall with turning leaves and the river in the background here. It's pretty awesome. So, how are you doing, Scott?
Just great. Couldn't be better.
We had a beautiful hike today.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah. So, in this Kenpo conversation here, I'd like to talk to you about environment, range, and position, because I've heard you talk about it quite a few times. So, if you would just explain why that's important and what you mean by that.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, those are the 3 of the 12 priorities of self-defense, and Mr. Parker formulated, I suppose. But I think it's interesting. Those 3. The first one was environment, and primarily this is for people that are just kind of getting into Kenpo or trying to understand a little bit of what Mr. Parker was trying to get us to do, get us to think about. And that's a lot of it, again, is what, Mr. Parker wanted us to think. He didn't want us to be robots. And so he designed this, designed a system, I call it a thinking man's art, which it certainly could be, but it's, in and of itself, on a basic level, it's very devastating art. But, the first 3 priorities, environment, range, position. The first one is environment. And we all know that what's in you, on you, or around you at the time of the conflict. But environment's a very important thing, and it's not just for fighting. It's about awareness. Actually, the very first thing is acceptance. That at some point in our lives we're going to be in a situation that we may have to defend ourselves, or once we love. That environment, it's not just, like I said, about what's on you, in you, or around you. It's as you move through life, as you move through the world. It's about awareness, about what's going on, where you're at, what you're doing. A lot of this too is about knowing yourself, how you're feeling, your diet, a lot of different things that it's really, it is under that. But on a basic level, it's what is your environment? Where are you at? Are you, like here, we're out in a beautiful place here. We don't have, although when you come to some of these places, you do have an element that wants to come and party and do a lot of things, and there's a lot of drinking many times involved with people camping and that. So these are things that, you just take into consideration who's around you at the time. But when you come to if it comes to a conflict of some kind, whether it's a verbal conflict or it can turn into a physical conflict, a confrontation, you want to, just like I'm wearing shorts, got the slippers on. I've been having my hiking shoes on all day, but now I'm in slippers, and where I live in Hawaii, it's we're all wearing slippers, so many times you're barefooted. So if you need to defend yourself, you have to take that into consideration, that I'm going to be barefooted most of the time. I'm not going to have any heavy clothing on. I'm going to be wearing t-shirt and shorts. But in this environment, it's very possible I could be wearing boots. Or the person could be wearing boots of some kind, or hard shoes, or different things. But those are things just to take into consideration. But like I said, it's not just about the moment of conflict. It's about what is the environment. Do I have any space around it? Clearly, we have plenty of room around it. But if we go down to a market, we go down to an area, go into maybe into a bar or something, you're in a different environment. And those different environments dictate things that you can do and things that you cannot do. But those are just things to think about. Instead of just thinking that you're going to do 5 swords, you may not be able to pull any of those things off. You may be able to pull 1 or 2. Maybe you may need to block. Maybe an initial strike might be dictated, but depending on, it's always depends on the circumstance. And that's again, Parker just drove home. Always is depending on circumstance. And so environment, taking into consideration what the environment is, what I'm wearing, what I'm eating, what I'm drinking. If I had a big meal, we just went to maybe we just had a big dinner, and so I'm not moving or feeling, or maybe some of you guys drink out there, and you might not be quite as sharp as you would be, but that's these are kind of some basic things that he just wanted to try to get us to think about, instead of just all of a sudden. And in no situation that I've ever been in does it happen instantly. There's always things that lead up to that. There's always something that happens before that moment. Nobody just comes out of the blue and tries to cold cock you, although it's happened to me before, that in mugging situations, and those things can happen occasionally. But so environment's a very important thing, I think, to give some consideration to, and again, like I was saying, not just at the moment of the conflict, but paying attention to what you're doing, where you're at, what you're wearing, what you're doing, what is the environment at the time. The second one, environment, range, position. The second one is range. How far away are you from any of these potential conflicts? So many times when I've done some bodyguard work and different things, that you have to look around. You don't want to ever get yourself into a very closed situation that you don't really have many avenues of escape, or things that you can do or things that you cannot do. If you're in a very posh place, sometimes everybody's very well dressed and everything. You don't want, even though a person is maybe creating something, it's always, the first thing is man's first ally, right? As Parker used to say, is distance. That's your first ally. Create some distance between you and the conflict. And so that's really important. But if you get into that, you have outer range, inner range, contact penetration, contact manipulation. So you have these different ranges that you can find yourself in. Again, another consideration. What you can do, what you can't do. If I'm too far away, I'd rather just stay far away. I'd rather not get into jumping on the guy, getting down and going into a contact manipulation, grappling situation. I'd rather, number one, avoid it. Number two, if you can't avoid it, try to de-escalate as possible, as quickly as possible. But again, range is not necessarily just that. It's now, so if you get into that range, what can you do? What's the length of your arms, length of your feet, the length of your opponent's arms, the length of their feet? And again, coming back to environment, what are they wearing? Are they restricted? They get a big leather jacket on or anything? They're going to be limited in what they can do and what they would be able to do. All right. So these are all things that he wanted to get us to think about, that will help us to survive any of these situations. All right. The other thing is position. Position is where you happen to be. If I'm at a table, I'm sitting down. There's a conflict over here. I'm in a seating position. Maybe I have a glass in my hand, or I'm sitting at the bar. I have a mug in my hand. You can use different environmental items, like a chair, like a glass, like a person. You can always put people in front of you. I've done that before, and that has a tendency to sort of de-escalate, because then they realize they can't get at you so quickly. All right, so they won't be able to cold cock you like they wanted to. So environment, range, and position are very important things, and I think those are the three things, the first things that he wanted us to look at, because they're the first things that are really going on. Okay, then we get into types of weapons we can use with our hands, our feet, or the environment. But so roughly, that's basically it.
Great, thank you so much. Very interesting.
You're welcome.